with the city council to talk about these flock cameras that, was already a done deal. They'd already signed the contract. They'd installed the cameras. They were using them. They were turned on. So this was just, an after the fact thing.
In August, Sedona, Arizona City Council directed police to turn off its flock cameras after backlash from residents. They had discovered 11 cameras were installed before public comment.
Due process was not followed. Everybody knows, the police knows, the city manager knows. Something this big has to be put before city council, and it wasn't.
This is, again, our former mayor conversing with the chief of police to get the contract in 23, yet in 24 at the budget, it's like, well, what's this flock ALPR thing? The little public record request I pulled up. Again, it's just, we have to ask ourselves, for such a big deal, why wasn't this made front and center way earlier? And for such a big deal to update the contract, that's another question mark. They've added more to the budget. Again, when was this going to come out?
We're discussing this today because there's been a lot of public conversation about license plate reader technology, not just here in Prescott, but statewide and nationally as well. In some communities, these conversations have even led to agencies scaling back or even eliminating the use of these tools, which have proven to be effective in solving crimes and protecting our communities. Unfortunately, much of this debate around this technology is driven by misunderstandings or incomplete information. And when that happens, it's important to slow things down to make sure everyone is working from the same set of facts.
Right now, if you ask the average Prescottonian, what do you know about flock safety? You might get one in 10 people go, oh, yeah, I kind of heard about them. And even a lesser percentage who actually understand what's the issues. But this is going to snowball. And as more and more people see these cameras, which I saw 3 of them driving here today, and as neighbors point them out to other neighbors and say, look at that, they're going to see we're being surveilled. That's what's going to stick. And no amount of discussion from flock safety experts or whomever or whatever is going to change their mind. And at the end of the day, all they're going to see and hear every time they drive through a traffic circle or every time they drive through an intersection and see those black cameras that look like R2-D2, they're going to say, we're being surveilled. That's the message they're going to take home with them.
I'm here about Flock's, Scottsdale's Flock AI Mass Surveillance Network, a system that this council never voted on, never held a hearing about, and apparently never knew existed. In 3 years of public records, there's not a single mention of Flock or a license plate reader in your agendas or minutes. So how did we get 60+ surveillance cameras without democratic oversight? This isn't just a bad process, it's unconstitutional.
We should at least have a policy debate on that. We shouldn't just embed it in a lobbying document, because when you vote for that, you're basically tacitly or expressly telling other parties that this is something you support. So.
This petition is our opportunity to get Flock out of flag. For those who don't know, Flock cameras continuously scan, track, and store license plate information along with distinguishing features such as vehicle color, stickers, accessories, and damage for every single car that comes into their view. Not just cars with warrants, Amber Alerts, or stolen reports. Everyone. No crime, no accusation, no suspicion. Just mass data collection and a private, warrantless database shared statewide. This is plainly dragnet surveillance, and I could say affirmatively that if you drove here today, you were tracked. Flagstaff PD argues these cameras give them more tools, and they do. Mass surveillance gives government more power. This power is precisely why I stand against it. Privacy is not about hiding wrongdoing, but about protecting ourselves from unchecked judgment and abuse. A system that, without cause, surveils our daily movements, uses AI to establish suspicion, is accessible without probable cause, and is shared with other agencies with no accountability to our community, is ripe for abuse. This abuse is not hypothetical, it is proven.
It was requested by, we were in a January retreat when the conversation came up on cameras, and we received direction from council at that time to move forward with those cameras.
I'm sure it's going to be a great thing, but I didn't know we already were moving forward on it.
So they are started, and we have how many again?
16. We purchased 16, 3 are installed. Imagine my surprise when I find out that we've already purchased 16 license plate readers. I'm going to sound like Wally for a minute. That's the first I'm hearing of it. That was an absolute shock to me that we have already purchased 16 of these.
There was a contract that was signed to install them. That was done very covertly in April, on April 8th. It immediately was a catalyst for some community pushback. And eventually the contract, we had a window within which we could cancel the contract. And in fact, the board did cancel it.
And I just got to tell you, the whole thing reeks because it's just because the overwhelming response of residents was against this. When they didn't mail out a thing, they didn't have an agenda item, with the city council to talk about this before they did it. They just did it.
Most of the organizations out there don't understand how this system works. They still believe it's a picture of your license plate. They don't understand that they're doing background checks every single time you pass by that camera. You're having a background check done on you multiple times a day just driving in Arizona. Just driving your kid to school every day will cause you and your husband to get a background check done on you every single day.
And
Twice a day.
I have no recourse. There's absolutely nothing I can do.
None whatsoever.
And I would bet a substantial amount of money that if you asked the average person on the Democrat liberal side or the Republican conservative side what they thought about this system, I would bet 80% of them would say, no, I don't want this. So the reason I'm here to talk to you about this is because if you don't get rid of this system and cancel these contracts, this is going to hang on to you. And if you have aspirations of maintaining your seats or even higher aspirations of some other office somewhere else, it's going to stick with you. And your opponents are going to use that to their advantage. They're going to say, I would. If I was running against one of you, I would say they voted to surveil you. That'd be one of the issues. The big thing is that this is going to snowball and come back and back and back like it did in Sedona until finally you're going to give up and say, take these things out. That's my prediction of what's going to happen. So just do it now.
Clearly, it's like the people's voice doesn't matter on this.